Okay, so these are like, to me, when I say 7 pillars of world building, it's really about, these are 7 pillars that I think create a very strong brand slash world around your brand. And when I say world, it's like how I describe, these are people entering your space. It's people entering what you do and how you operate, and they feel a part of like, oh, like I could live here, quote unquote. So it's, and I also think this is the formula too of how people continue to like grow with you and use you so that you don't always have to look for new clients and blah, blah, blah. So all that to say is these are 7 pillars, and I'll kind of break down very quickly what they are. So there's core identity and values. This is like the inner compass that guides everything. So this is like a, have you know about Claude, the AI? So Claude, how
Yeah.
they kind of make their stance of like, we're not selling to the US government and there's going to be a limit on how many people. So that's them being guided by a core identity and value. And like, granted, they do the same thing that ChatGPT, Gemini, but they're different. And I even remembered that because they stood on their value. So it's kind of understanding like, what are these guiding principles that I do this work through? So that's number one, or it's just one of them. Storytelling, which is kind of what you came to me about, is the stories you tell around the history of the community and your why. So this kind of breaks down for me and where I work is like your founder story / creation story. And then, or it's actually those two. Sometimes I see what people need based on their brand, but it kind of comes down to those two. But then over time, it's just the stories you tell around the problems that you solve or how you change a client's life through your work because you change their business systems. So these are just the stories, and they all kind of lead back to like, this is why I do this, because like, you know, this is my founder story. That's why I birthed this in the first place, or this is that. And I help people kind of cultivate that, which is kind of what we're talking about when you first came. Then there's community engagement. So this can mean a lot of things, but it's essentially the ethos of building a two-way relationship with your community. So it's like posts that are just like, hey, buy this, that's like selling, and it's a one-way relationship. You just want them to do something for you versus let me respond back to everything that, like all the comments that I get. Oh, this person asked me a question, I'll make a video about that. So now it creates this two-way relationship with your audience, and that's how you build community engagement over time. Then there's having multiple brand touch points. This is where we get into like the tactical of like, what is your marketing system online? So your Instagram, your website, like wherever you show up online, but it's also offline. So it's like, oh, do people know that like if I that our brand shows up every year at Coachella? So it's like, where are you showing up and where are the touch points of your brand? Branded experiences, it kind of piggybacks off touch points, but it's more of like, what experiences are you creating in your brand? And before I keep going, these are kind of just ways to think about different things to activate within your brand. I never tell someone like, try to build all these at once, because that's overwhelming. It's just like brick by brick by brick. And so with branded experiences, it's like, okay, maybe a brand is doing everything right, but how can we just add a little bit more experience to the brand? So this could look as like straightforward as like, oh, I'm going to throw an event, or it can be like, no, the experience of working with me and how I've constructed packages and services feels like an experience. It's not just like, okay, here you go. It's like, okay, no, we're going to actually have, whenever I launch a website, let's have a launch call where we're having champagne. Like that's a branded experience. Little things, it's just a little tweak, or sending a client a gift or something at the end of the year. Those are experiences. Co-creation of feedback loops. So it's kind of like how I said that engagement, but the slight difference here is basically having the audience inform what you do with your brand. This goes to a point. It's not about you just doing what they say, but it's almost like when you'll see people building in public and being like, I'm thinking about doing 2 workshops. Should it be number 1 or number 2? And like, that's your Instagram story. Or you're actually literally asking people that have been a part of your brand, like, hey, like I'm doing this, since you've been a part of my world already, which one? That two-way of like, oh wait, I'm influencing this company, like that builds relationship in a world. Last one is framework for evolving. And so this is kind of like the last one of just like, always keep this in the back of your head, that your brand will always be evolving. So sometimes we do all this work, we get the perfect website, we get the perfect packages, but then in a year, COVID hits, like how it did. your world will naturally have to evolve and see what that looks like. So we have to kind of learn, especially as women, especially as founders, to pivot quickly to adjust, like, okay, what does the brand need today that isn't like an anxious response, but it's like, okay, it's evolving. So we're not what we said we were 2 years ago. We've evolved, but our core identity stays the same. So that was my like short little masterclass on world building. But I wanted to give you this full view because it's very, before we get deeper into the work, because it's very easy to like really spend a lot of time on like one little area